fought the rest, now try the best!
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we just got done looking at the Summer Games Fest, and these game reveal events are getting much better. I know a lot of time people are like bored and there's so much filler and so much trash and nothing that you want is ever shown, but for the PlayStation Showcase and for this one, this time they delivered. And some of the things that I want to talk about is what was delivered upon. First thing is the big one, Street Fighter 6. This game is doing incredible. For those of you who's been paying attention to the Steam reviews, they are constantly breaking their all-time record peak player count. And that is something that not many games do, is break their peak player count, 3 years in, 4 years in. So that's really good for the game, and it's great that they have so much success. And year 4 was highly anticipated because of that. Now, there is a little bit of disappointment, but there's also great excitement. First, bad news. Bad news is they did not bring back some of the icons that players wanted, such as Vega, Balrog, Makoto, and you can name many other names. There's so many legendary Street Fighter characters, and there's a lot to pick from. This time around, the developers wanted to go with basically a lot of new characters. The first character you have here is Yasmin. Now, this is a totally new character. Street Fighter lore enthusiasts can dig through the files and the details to see if this character appears in any way whatsoever in the past, but to my knowledge, totally brand new character, and people were excited for her. But like I said, some people would much rather have a Vega or a Makoto in her place. And then also you have the big boy, Arjun. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but that's what I'll go with until I hear the character said officially. But this is like a big body type character. I'm assuming he's going to be some kind of crazy athletic grappler type. Street Fighter is kind of known for their big boys. They have, Hugo. They have Zangief. So it would make sense that they want to add another big boy to kind of represent the new era of Street Fighter characters. We'll see whether or not he can live up to the greats that came before him, but for right now, this is what they're trying. The two characters that I just showed you, players are really taking interest in those two and wanting them to be replaced. And I could completely understand that. A legacy franchise, people want legacy characters. Selling this is going to be difficult, but at the same time, Street Fighter made controversial decisions in the past and it paid off huge. So what do we know? Now, the characters that I am perfectly fine with them having is Bosk. This character is featured heavily in Street Fighter 6, and I kind of recognized him in the trailer. So him showing up as a fully playable game, not only does it give people more of a reason to go and visit the story mode of that game to learn a little bit more about him, but it also makes the time that the developers put into that and the resources more valuable as well. So this is a cool character. This is a great pick, and I'm interested to see what he could truly do being a fully fleshed out character and not just an NPC. Now, of course, the final character, the big one, Tifa. We know that this character was coming because the leak that I reported on quite some time ago, it pointed to her. Now, it also pointed to a couple of other characters as well.
2 new characters and Bosch? Dude, we're so cooked. Everyone was wrong. Brother, we're so cooked. We're so fucking cooked.
But those leaks also were kind of conflicting because some people said that they heard Vega's name. Some people said that they heard new names. Some people heard multiple different names. But the one name that stuck throughout all of the conversation was Tifa. So her showing up was a big sigh of relief for everyone because she is a iconic character and people love what she brings to gaming. And Street Fighter capitalizing off of this is a huge success, especially with them capping off the trilogy of the remake that they're doing. So this character is definitely going to be as exciting as she ever has been, and it's cool to see Street Fighter continuing to push fighting games to the next level. And obviously we don't need to speak about it, but Tekken choosing Clive turns out to be the biggest mistake that they've made in a long time, but they have Baki to fall back on. One thing that I also seen about Street Fighter, their year 4 season pass, that I think is important to note is that from the looks of it, it will have 4 characters and then outfit recolors and then 2 costumes. And then you also get some bonus drive tickets. But no stage is criminal. It's really crazy when you take into consideration that their stages is just basically wallpaper. The background environment that you see on your screen is different than your online opponent. That's how inconsequential it is to the actual gameplay element. So the fact that they couldn't put in a couple of more, maybe pay homage to some old iconic characters or just old classic environments, especially with the music as well, that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Now, another thing that did incredible things is Virtua Fighter Crossroads. It is not called Virtua Fighter 6, even though they do pay a little bit of homage to the Virtua Fighter 6 by making a V and a I in orange color. It is not called Virtua Fighter 6, it's called Virtua Fighter Crossroads. But the game looked magnificent regardless, from the visuals to storytelling to the music to the environment to the graphics. It even had subtle elements of like a Tekken 5 DR, Tekken Force mode built into it. This is something that Tekken players wanted for a very long time. And what I was really happy to see is how they incorporated the 3D camera into it all. You guys may have seen some of my live streams or some of my shorts where I was saying that fighting games should blend the elements of a 3D camera, and then when you lock onto someone, switch it to a dynamic like 2D screen like we normally are used to. And I was saying Tekken should incorporate something like this. One of these fighting games should. And the fact that they did it so seamlessly and so effortlessly and it looks beautiful, it just makes me happy because someone out there understands what fighting games could be, and they've done it. They pushed it to a whole new level, getting so many historic developers to work on the story. So this isn't just something that's like cheap and lazy. This is like a real story with something that they want you to feel, something that they want you to connect with, and that's amazing. And then also the way that they're kind of like changing the gameplay a little bit, where they're adding a little bit more of a dynamic element to it, a little bit more realism as I was described, but it's just all being elevated, and you can see that Sega is really putting some serious money behind it. I truly hope that this game succeeds because they are putting a lot of money behind it, and we've seen so many fighting games before this have big budgets, big names, big excitement, and then it fizzles out fast. This game currently has everything necessary to succeed, and now the only thing we need to see is a little bit more gameplay and a little bit more of what the online has to offer, and then also fill out that roster with bangers. You put in some new characters, yeah, because they already showed that, right? They showed that in promotional materials how there's a couple of new characters, but then you also fill in the roster with iconic characters that kind of screams, you know, this is Virtua Fighter, that will want, you know, legacy players to celebrate and champion the game, so it has that great word of mouth experience. For Virtua Fighter Crossroad, a tweet that I thought was interesting says, a perfect balance of technique, knowledge, mind games, coupled with simple, intuitive controls. The quote says, I wanted to preserve the idea of being able to pick up and play the game with simple, intuitive controls, so we kept that. But we're also polishing it up. I think it will feel like we're starting over from scratch. And this is something that you have to take into consideration when Tekken was saying these things about how they wanted to make it simpler and easier. Of course, the gameplay looked fantastic, but I just know what happened with Tekken and how legacy players feel. They will be kind of cringy when they hear this kind of dialogue said from the creative director. For right now, everything that they showed is incredibly fantastic. And when they dig deeper into the gameplay elements, we'll talk about that.